We will go ahead and call tonight Public Works Committee meeting to order for August the 5th, 2019. It's 5:30 p.m. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of July 15th, 2019.
The committee's had time to review the minutes of the meeting. Do we have any questions on the minutes?
Move the approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Ordinance 4076A, rezoning the property located between South 40th and South 48th Streets, north of West Hancock Street and south of Eagle Crest Drive, more particularly described in the ordinance from R1, Single Family Residential District, to A1, Agricultural District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
Okay, on tonight's on this item number 2 item, we have had a number of people that have signed up to speak and address this item. We've had about 10 people sign up to address this item. First, we will have staff, and it will be Tish Callahan to address this to the committee. After that, we will have time that everyone that has signed up to address this item, we will call them up to the elector to make a statement in regard to this. If you would, give your name and address as you are called up to address that items, and you will have 5 minutes to make your statements to the committee during that time period. And we will have 5 minutes, the council or the committee, to make any questions for any clarifications on that agenda item. So now we will go ahead. Ms. Callahan, if you will give us the information on item number 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and committee members.
May I interrupt before we begin, Mr. Chairman? Would you open the public hearing?
Thank you very much for that clarification, Roy. We will now open a public hearing on item number 2.
Thank you. See if we get started. Thank you, and committee members. This is a request from Travis and Bridget Bearden. They are the owners and the applicant. They're requesting to rezone 118 acres from the R1 Single Family Residential District to the A1 Agricultural District. It's to allow for a new single family dwelling, a barn, and farm animals in the future. I apologize, it doesn't show up on the wall very well, but on your screens you'll see the area that is highlighted in the orange is the area that they are requesting to rezone from the R1 to the A1 agricultural. This is a map that shows the farther out surrounding areas, goes on up to Border and down to Hancock. These are our existing zonings in the area. The blue with the hash is outside city limits. The lime green is currently zoned agriculture, and then the white is zoned R1 single family residential. This is the picture of the future land use map that indicates the area to be in the blue-green is the agricultural zoning. The surrounding zoning and the land use to the north is R1 single family residential. It is Eagle Crest Estates. This was taken on Crestview Avenue facing east. To the south is outside city limits. It is not zoned, but it is an agricultural use. This was taken on Hancock, and it faces south. To the southeast is outside city limits, and it is an agricultural use. This was taken on Hancock at South 48th Street, facing southeast. To the east, while inside city limits, is zoned A1 Agricultural District. It is agricultural land, and there is a single-family dwelling. This was taken on 40th Street, facing east. To the west is outside city limits. It's agricultural use. This was taken on Hancock at South 48th Street, looking northwest. And then along 40th Street, it's a little hard to tell, but you can see that it is overgrown in agricultural use all through there. The 118 acres is located between South 40th and then South 48th Street on Hancock Road and to the north Eagle Crest Estates. The Eagle Crest subdivision plat was filed in July of 1993 with 58 residential lots. Since that time, the Muskogee Golf Incorporated requested an annexation of the entire 360 acres into city limits, and that was in 1997. Currently, it is an abandoned golf course. And due to that, and we don't feel like it is feasible financially to be developed residentially due to the lack of the infrastructure and large floodplain area. The A1 agricultural district does comply with the comprehensive land use map, and staff recommends approval. Planning Commission did deny the request. And on this map, it does show the current zoning area and the water and sewer, the current water and sewer availability.
Which one, I see the blue and the green is, which,
Blue is water and green is the sewer, sanitary sewer.
okay, are the manholes?
Circles.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicants are here also to address this issue.
Any other questions from the committee for staff at this time?
Which, oh, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Any others from the committee? Thank you, Ms. Callahan. We will now have our first person that signed up to speak this evening, Ms. Perlene Boyati.
To the council. My name is Perlene Boyati. I live at 4207 Eagle Crest Drive. And I spoke this morning before the commission, so my conversation will be a little bit shorter this afternoon. And I'll just read what I was going to say. Our futures past tell us that things change over time. We don't know what the future holds, but we are in the right now. We, as residents of Eagle Crest Estates, know that as of the right now, we're zoned and have been zoned as R1 for a number of years. The new owners purchased the property as R1. The only thing we have is our past, which also dictates our future, whether it is acceptable to us or whether it is unacceptable. Yet it still dictates. Our now will be our past tomorrow, and our tomorrow will be our past now, and so forth. We should have been told about the land use map when we were having issues with our past, with the previous owners, so that we would have requested a permanent change that is now a part of our future. That's why I stand here today. If that had happened, we would not be here. Where was the due diligence to protect us? The system has tested us, and now we're being asked to trust the new owners. My trust is at an all-time low. It has hit rock bottom. What if the property is sold again and we end up with the horrors of the past? The cycle would then repeat itself. I stand before you today respectfully asking Public Works to agree with me and the other residents of Eagle Crest Estates to leave the official zoning map as is, and that is R1. Thank you.
At this time, is there anybody from the committee that would have any questions for or any clarifications for Ms. Boyati? Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming this evening. Our next speaker is Michael Golden.
My name is Michael Golden. I live at 4011 Eagle Crest Drive. I recently built my house 2014 in the Eagle Crest edition with the thought of continually having that R1, and I just want to request that it to remain that way. And also, I didn't know much about the map, but we would continue to like to keep that as R1, and that's my request. And that's pretty much all I have. I just want to remain as it is.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker this evening will be Mr. Terry Miller.
Well, first of all, this is going to be repetitive to some
Mr.
people
Miller.
that have already heard this.
Mr. Miller, I'm sorry, will you give us your name and address first?
Yeah, I guess I better. Terry Miller, 4210 Eagle Crest Drive, out in Eagle Crest Estates.
Thank you, sir.
You bet one. We first built our house 4 or 5 years ago. When we first built our house a long time ago, about 23 years ago, there was only 4 or 5 houses in the addition. Now there's 43. 43 houses with 43 families that want to live in a nice, safe, good neighborhood. We have invested millions of dollars between all of us out there, wanting to live where we think it's a good neighborhood. We've been fortunate to be zoned and divided into 2 school districts. We've been divided into Muskogee. We've been divided into Hilldale. Hilldale just passed a $12 million bond. Muskogee just passed, not yet, like a $145 million bond. Let's hope they do. Because with all that progress, you're going to see people coming in to those school districts. You're going to see housing. We're for growth. We like growth. People want their children to have a good education in a nice facility and live in a nice house. We understand that the Beardens have requested that most of their land be agriculture. The question is why? So they can have some cattle. Well, some cattle, so they say, it can bring a lot of stink. We have a strong south wind, Oklahoma wind all the time. And if you're grilling out on your back porch with barbecue, you're going to smell it. That's not going to be a whole lot of fun. We don't like that. Why would we ever want that at our back door? The answer is that we don't want it at our back door. We want it to remain residential in the city of Muskogee. Has any of us ever had a neighbor that doesn't mow their grass, that's a little bit sloppy in their landscape? I'm sure we all have our stories. But if need be, we have city ordinances that protect us against such people. Residential ordinances and agricultural ordinances, they're not the same. They're 2 different ordinances. Words are nice. Promises are nice. Good intentions are nice. Good people sounds nice. But besides all that, I'd like to protect it by a law, an ordinance. I don't want someone telling me they're going to do that, we're not this way, and they may not be that way. But if they protect me with an ordinance, I'm fine. There's another issue that probably can be solved concerning addition out there. The Beardens have asked for a 3 5-acre tracts behind Even Par Avenue. They have a plan to build 3 houses out there, or have the owners build 3 houses, which is fine. But I haven't seen any plans concerning the water drainage there. The water drainage that I see will be coming down Even Par Road. And if you hadn't been out there when it rains, it's like a river down the road, like a lot of towns or a lot of streets in Muskogee. I suggest that we look at maybe some type of ditch toward 40th Street. We don't need more water. The future of Muskogee looks better than I've ever seen it look before. It really does. We've got opportunity to build some fantastic streets, maintain our streets. We've got a chance to do something with our water quality, our sewer department. We can accelerate its facility out there. We've got new city LED lights that's coming. We can drive around at night and see where we're going. I mean, that's coming soon. We made improvement out to Davis Field at the airport. They've grown in leaps and bounds. The port has grown in leaps and bounds. With all this growth and all these things that are happening good in Muskogee, why would we want to step backwards and go from a residential zone to an agricultural zone? Excuse me. Allergies gets me. Please consider going to a residential zone, staying a residential zone, than going to an agricultural zone. You know, there's been talk about this land use map. I look at the land use map as a guide, a survey, a tool. The city council has power, and they make the
Sorry,
right
Mr.
decisions.
Miller, your time has expired.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to request that Mr. Miller be given 2 more minutes to finish his point, please.
I second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second on the floor for a 2-minute extension. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Time flies,
If
doesn't
you
it?
would put 2 more minutes on the clock.
Okay. Wasn't a whole lot anyway. The use map, the planning use map, is nothing more than a tool to look into the future, to suggest, to have a survey. The real power is the people up here, the people behind the desk. They are the city council. They have more power to decide what's right and wrong, what makes more sense, and I just, please, make that sense and go residential. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, before you leave, is the council got any clarifications? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Michael Williams.
My name is Michael Williams. I live 4201 Eagle Crest Drive. We've lived there about going on 20 years. We bought in this neighborhood for a nice place to live, as Terry said. The ability to maintain our property values is surely going to be affected by this rezoning if it goes forth. We no longer have restrictions that residential zoning allows us, so cattle roaming behind our property or said cattle getting out of fences, which they do. I was raised on a farm. Farm animals get out. Who's going to pay for my landscape if they tear my landscape up? The winds from the south, as Terry said, it's not going to be nice. I live on the south side of the road. I don't want a barbed wire fence and cattle roaming right up next to my backyard. The Beardens, I'm sure they're nice people. They've indicated that this is going to be a hobby farm. I don't think the people in Eagle Crest need to be a part of their hobby, if you know what I mean. The changes that will kick in on rezoning could change for the indicated property owners. Having said all, bear in mind we've been told the family's moved 13 times in 11 years. This may be their forever home, but who's saying that a year down the road they don't sell this property and I have a salvage yard in my backyard? Or I think we need to leave it residential, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or clarifications for Mr. Williams? Thank you, Mr. Williams. Our next speaker this evening will be Karen Swick.
What I wanted to say has already been said.
Okay. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Robin Hopkins.
My name is Robin Hopkins. I live at 4104 Eagle Crest Drive. Good evening. I've lived there longer than any other resident at Eagle Crest. I was there before the roads were put in. We had cows across the road then. And as I was building my house, cows got into my house. I had to clean it up. So cows do get out. And I don't want to get cows in my yard now, you know. I built that house because I was wanting to play golf when I retired. Well, right now that's not possible, even at Eagle Crest. I have to play elsewhere. But we're hoping that in the future we will have another golf course there. And if you zone this agriculture, that future that we're looking for will cease to exist. And we could have more housing out there. There is places to build. And it was planned back in '93 to add houses off of Crestview to the south and even Parr to the south, and also on the corner of 40th and Hancock. But this was planned back in '93, and I was one of the ones that signed that as the first member of the Eagle Crest Estates. Now, we do have drainage problems now, and that's something that you would have to address if you added anything else out there, because we need to get that straight. I have one in my backyard that has been complaining for 25 years, and I haven't got it fixed yet. But that's beside what we're talking about today. We need to take care of this zoning first, and you know, if you went to agriculture in this area, you'd take a 25-year step backwards for the city of Muskogee. Now, that's not what we want to do. We want to grow our city and have nice housing for people to move in and grow the city of Muskogee. And with this, you're limiting how people can grow to the west side of Muskogee especially, which we need more. You know, the school districts need it. Hilldale needs it. Muskogee will need it. And there's been 2 new houses built there since 2013. One next door to me and one that was already mentioned. And those people bought there after the golf course had closed. So it's not just a golf course, even though we have a hope it will open up someday. But people are moving there because it's a nice neighborhood. Everybody gets along, everybody keeps their yard nice, and we just want to keep it that way. We appreciate your listening, and please vote against this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Any clarifications from the committee? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening will be Bob Myers.
I'm Bob Myers. I live at 4206 Eagle Crest Drive. We've been at that location 25 years this month. When we built and moved in, fortunately, there weren't any cows roaming across the street. But we certainly don't need that now. We're hoping that the west side of Muskogee gets some more development, maybe gets a little bit more press to encourage development, and going to ag south of us there. I just don't see how that's going to encourage that. Matter of fact, I think some of those other areas around us should be probably rezoned, at least commercial and or residential. So, you know, we understand that promises are just that, and promises, but we need the protection of the zoning, and we hope that you will vote that way. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Next speaker this evening will be Leroy Walker, Sr.
Good evening, Council. My name is Leroy Walker, Sr. I live at 4205 Eagle Crest Drive. My wife and I moved in that location 15 years ago. We looked for a home to be our last home here on this earth before we go to glory. And we chose Eagle Crest as a place to be. And that's why we chose it, because after we looked at that area, it's a quiet neighborhood, nice homes in the neighborhood. It cost us more money because it was a golf course at the time. And then after the golf course closed, I've been a champion for that area out there. Anytime anyone asks me about where they can move in town, I say, come out and look at Eagle Crest. Buy you some property out there, build your home. I think you'll be well pleased with it. It's a quiet neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood. We finished raising our children out there. My wife and I have 5 children. Now we have 13 grandchildren. And pray for us. We have 8 of them at the house right now. We got to get out of here and get back to them. But at the same time, now our grandchildren didn't come out there. They was out there this week riding their bikes up and down Eagle Crest Drive there. It's a safe place. The neighbors watch out for the children. And the Beardens come out, and I met them. And I believe they are very good people. I met them when they was out back cutting and mowing, and I was really hoping when they first mowed, I thought, man, the golf course is going to come back because they cut that fairway. And I just knew that hopefully a golf course would come back. And they shared with me what they want to do, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate what they want to do for their children. But at the same time, I hope they appreciate what we're trying to do. Because when I leave, I want to leave an inheritance for my children to be able to come there, live there, and be in peace without it being agriculture. And so I say to you this evening, as we bought out there, my wife and I, we really prayed about it and considered it. And it's a great place. And anytime someone come visit us, they say, man, it's quiet out here. It's quiet out here. And it is quiet out there. And if you don't believe, just come sit out there at night and you could just hear the nature itself. I know the Beardens want to do what they want to do, but at the same time, I believe they will do what they say they do. But at the same time, if they sell the property and if it's gone to agriculture, then there's no control. Someone else can come in there and break the promises that they have. And then at the same time, I know they selling some property and some land for others, some lots to build. But then at the same time, I can understand that they want to do that. I have no problem with what they want to do with it for us building houses. Because when I moved out there, I went and looked behind our house, and there's some pre-cut streets out there behind me. When you go across where the golf course fairway is, and you go out across that fairway to the south, there were some pre-cut roads in there. And I just heard where they was going to build 58 houses, and now they have built 43. And Muskogee is crying for more residential property. You know as well as I do, that's one of our biggest problems in Muskogee is housing, and nice housing. And Muskogee is looking forward to passing a big bond for the school system. And if we pass this bond for the school system, I believe Muskogee is going to be one of the premier schools on this side of the state. And there are going to be people who want to live here and stay here. So I say to you, let's promote house building rather than agriculture. Because if it go to agriculture, we lose control of what can happen there. We appreciate your time this evening. I'm under a minute, so if anyone have any questions for me, I'm open to it.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening will be those that applied for the zoning. Bridget Bearden, I'm sorry.
We'll both talk.
Okay, and the other would be Travis?
Yes.
Do we get 10 minutes?
Yes.
I have a piece. Okay, I didn't know how that.
Good evening, council members. I'm Travis Bearden, Bridget Bearden, owners of the property looking to have it rezoned. We've been looking for property for quite a while, and the opportunity to buy this land kind of fell in our laps. It was just like what we were looking for, a mix of, cleared land, wooded land, and we just fell in love with it. Wanted it for our family. We have 3 kids. We're hoping to have it rezoned agriculture so we can just have a few head of cattle. We want to teach our kids some responsibility, some work ethic, and that's pretty much the extent of that. And so that's our desire, to have it zoned agriculture. I think to have this, we're hearing a lot of talk of growth and the need for residents, and I just don't think that's based in fact. You know, I think it's to keep this land that we have zoned residential, there needs to be an actual need for residential. And just to correct a small fact from this morning, because we had called to see just when exactly the last new construction in Eagle Crest Estates was. We were under the information it was 2006, and I think we got an update that the last house was 2013.
Yeah, that's when the last building permit was issued, so that was a correction on our part. And we had looked into doing a few more lots out there because we bought that because our kids go to Hilldale. And trying to find land in Hilldale School District is like trying to find a unicorn when it's on paved roads. So we wanted to do a few more lots out there, but due to the water issue on 40th Street, which Ms. Tish could fill you guys in on the situation with that, the water line is not big enough to sustain any more housing. So we were told that we could put in a larger water line at our own expense, and then the city of Muskogee could take that over. That was at a cost of $265,000 for 3 extra lots. Now, I don't know if you guys understand that or not, but we're not developers. We are builders, but we're not developers. And so for 3 lots, that is not advantageous. So yes, there is a need, and there's definitely a need in the Hilldale School District, but there's probably a reason why that land has sat and has been for sale as long as it has, because others probably came before us and knew that it was not going to be advantageous to build a development in there, a housing development on that south on 40th or even going on Hancock because of the water line issue, just because of the financial need for that. And to clarify, one of the people mentioned how many times we've moved. We're builders, and so anybody that knows a builder that builds spec homes, sometimes you move into those to stage them, and I'm an interior designer. So my husband's a builder, I'm an interior designer. That's what you do sometimes to sell those. But also, if anybody knows builders, you come to a point where you buy the land that you stay at. And I would like to address some of the things that were said.
That actually reflects having a wife. I like to move. She says, no, we need to put stakes down somewhere.
No,
so,
and I
that's
said that
actually where
to
she
some of the
comes in.
people that we've met. I said, I'm going to have him sign a contract that said we're not moving again. But also, when you buy a large plot of land instead of just a 1 acre tract, a 2 acre tract, you can't move it. And so I said, hey, if we're buying 34 acres, we can't up and move as fast. So one of the things that keeps being brought up a lot, and I understand and I know, so I get a little bit more time than this because there's 2 of us. Okay. We went around, when we started working on this, we bought this land on May 10th. So we have yet to even own this as of 3 months. In less than 3 months' time, we have done an abundance of work on it, not because of any reason other than we're proud of what we purchased, and we looked for a very long time, and because we were also teaching our kids something about when you work hard and you put back money, you're proud of what you own. Second, when we were out there working, even though I looked a hot mess, which most of those people have never seen me look like this because I had a hat on and I had pants on and I got poison ivy and different things, I went up to them and introduced ourselves because that's the type of people we are. And the previous owner, the situation that they had dealt with, I just wanted them to know, hey, we're the Beardens. We're excited about being out here. This is our game plan. We didn't have to tell them any of that. But that's how we are. That's what we chose to do. Talked to one couple. I sat on their back porch for 3 hours while Travis was back brush hogging and my son was mowing, and I kind of shouldn't have, and drank water and stuff and just visited because that's who we are. But one of the things that keeps being brought up is protecting the people that live out there. We did what we've done, and we've mowed, and we've done the things that we've done because we want it to look nicer than I think they do, because like I said, we're proud of it. This, in our opinion, is not stepping backward. that neighborhood is quiet. When we went and walked it the first time we looked at it, we fell in love with it because of how peaceful and how quiet it is. We're not doing a subdivision back behind them because we want it to stay peaceful and quiet. So that is keeping, and everything that they've talked about and what they love about the neighborhood are the exact same things that we love. And we've talked about the neighborhood, the same things. It's just, I think we're all kind of on a different page. Several people have talked about the property value being affected. We know so many realtors in town being builders. I've contacted numerous people. My parents live in the farm subdivision. Some of our dearest friends live in the Woodlands, which are two really nice subdivisions, all surrounded by cattle farms, not hobby farms like, we're talking about 5, 10 cows here that we don't own. They're imaginary. We don't have any cows right now. Those property values are not affected. Those homes sell right and left. Hilldale School District. No problems. Why would rezoning agriculture affect if anybody wanted to come in and put a golf course in that front part that's on Border Street? Why would our back part that's already purchased now, which has been for sale for a long time, why would that affect a new investor wanting to put in a golf course in the front part that's still there? That's a question that needs to be addressed. There is more development opportunity in this town, absolutely. But that, again, the land has been for sale. Nobody's purchased it. We are the ones that purchased it, yet we're being discriminated against, unfortunately, because of the previous owner. I didn't know that we needed to have personal references from people that know us, because we could have. We could have had friends of ours that known us for years, people that we've done business with. We could have brought those people before you guys, because after the meeting this morning, that's kind of what keeps coming into play. Your word is good, your word is fine, but we just don't know you. Well, we could have brought those people. I didn't know that that's what this meeting was about. I didn't know that this meeting was about what ifs. I thought this was about facts. The fact is that we bought this land less than 3 months ago, and we've busted our tails to be proud of it and to make it better than it has been the entire time the previous owner had it. That's a fact. The fact is that we've been honest from the very get-go. The fact is that even though I went through the neighborhood visiting with people when we didn't have to, I unfortunately had people in the neighborhood go behind me spreading different information, which was sad. Being adults, I didn't think, those are things you teach your children not to do, and unfortunately that was done. I tried to call, there were comments made about the smell. We don't want the smell from a few cows. We're over by a landfill. I don't know if any of the neighbors are concerned about that. Never smell it. Okay, I didn't know that that's ever. This is my time right now. I have 52 seconds left.
If we could just keep comments to ourselves.
There were other things brought up. There was a comment made about the 3 5-acre lots that have already gone through. They've already been approved. And the gentleman that brought those comments up, my husband and I both contacted him multiple times. We've left messages, and he chooses not to call us back. Because we're the rule of thumb, I don't like surprises, and we address things head on. That's our personality, that's our integrity. And so that's why I went door to door and said, hey, we're the Beardens. This is our game plan. We're so excited to be out here. Love to meet you guys. What I don't like is people falsely accusing us of things and spreading, it's defamation of character is what happened. So we appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anybody on the committee that has any questions or any clarifications needed from the Beardens?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes.
You said you worked 2 months. And like I said, I met y'all this morning for the first time I've met you. I've talked to you in person. I've talked to you on the phone. You called me when I was walking around Eagle Crest. And my question is, have y'all baled hay since you've been out there?
Yes, sir, we did.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, it's an old saying. My first impression sometimes is my last impression. You know, I've been dealing on this project since 11/3/2016 in Eagle Crest. Those people out there in that audience, I know them very, very well. And I'm dealing with them now. We're up here, and this is 2019. But the problem I have is, when you told me that you've been baling hay out there is against our city ordinance. You have already violated our city ordinance. Like our city ordinance don't mean nothing to you. Mr. Coppage, he done it. He was the first one to do it. He played us real good out there baling hay. When grass gets 12 inches high, you correct me if I'm wrong, Tish and Dan Hurd. Tell me if I'm wrong. When grass gets 12 inches high, people normally call code enforcement.
I am going to correct you really quick.
Go ahead.
The Great Flood. And you can ask Miss Tish, Mr. Dan, and Brenda Reagan at the Ordinance Department. I called almost every day. It was already so high by the time that we purchased it, May 10th, which was on a Friday afternoon because that's our anniversary. It's Mother's Day weekend. By Monday morning, a certain gentleman had already called us in. We had only owned it less than 48 hours. Then the Great Flood came, which I think we all know what happened. I called all the time and I said, Miss Brenda, Miss Tish, and Mr. Dan, I said, it is too wet for us to mow. I am just letting you know, we understand the situation out there. We know what's going on. They said, Bridget, you do not have to call us every time it rains. Every single time it rained, I called them every day. And then it got so high, I said, what do you think? What do we need to do? What is the best plan of action? What do you need us to do? I asked specifically. They said, you can bale the hay because it is so high at this time. I asked. I specifically got from them what the best plan of action I could do. We have not baled since. My husband and my son and myself have been out there mowing and brush hogging ever since it's been baled. She even knew the name of the person that I had brush hogging it because I said, I want you to know exactly who's doing this. And every time he said he was going to go do it, and then we couldn't because it rained again, I called her and I called Brenda Reagan every single time, and it's documented. So that was not just me being obstinate or going against codes, because believe me, sir, that is not our disposition and not our personality.
I understand that, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Van, this would just be for questions for clarification. It wouldn't be for.
Councilman Johnson, that's what I'm trying to do. And she explained what she did. She called code enforcement. But what I'm telling her is we have an ordinance.
And I understand that, and that's
right.
why I got with the exact people that I knew I needed to. Unfortunately, it wasn't you, but I got with the people who are over those departments that I needed to contact.
Well, what I'm saying is, no matter what they said, they broke the rules also, because you're not supposed to bale hay. You're supposed to cut it with a brush hog. I'm pretty sure that grass could have been cut with a brush hog. You didn't have to bale that hay. That hay is still sitting out there in those
Mr.
around
Van,
these people's
I believe
homes.
this is not pertinent to the point that we're discussing this evening.
Because let's talk about you going door to door without contacting the owners.
Let's move to something else that's pertinent to the discussion this
Well,
evening.
that would be pertinent
Right.
without contacting the owners.
Okay.
Turn the floor back over to Mr. Johnson, but I just wanted to make that point.
I'd like to make my point too, Mr. Van.
I think that let's not have any more of that, please. Any other questions for clarification from any of the committee? Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all coming and speaking this evening. We do have one others that signed up to speak this evening. Donald Rogers.
Hattie, Council. This is my first time to ever
I'm
be at one of
sorry.
these meetings.
I'm sorry if you could give us your address. I apologize.
Donnell Rogers. I live at 1308 Out of Bounds Drive
Thank
in
you.
the farm. Okay? And I'll tell you what, this is almost a fiasco. There are some facts. My daughter brought them up. There's a lot of what ifs I've heard too. Well, let me tell you a little fact. I live in the farm. The woodlands are right next to us. We have a working cattle ranch right on top of us. My property values have went up. If they went down, I want to pay less taxes. I've heard that this is going to affect their property values to have 5 cows out there, and one of them was going to be mine to eat. And I greatly offended over that. So, those are the facts. Now, every once in a while, we do get some smell from the cattle farm ranch that's right next to us, and it's not really the cattle. It's the protein that they pour out over there. And when there's a good south wind, believe me, we smell a lot of the protein. If they didn't have protein over there, I don't know if we'd ever know the cows were there. So that's really almost a non-issue for about 4 or 5 cows. Anyways, and Mr. Miller brought up a couple of facts that they wanted a safe neighborhood and this and that. You know, I've been over there on that land several times since my kids bought that. Bridget's my daughter, son-in-law Travis. And I've seen everybody and their dog on that land, 4-wheelers, horses, everything else. The land wasn't even theirs. Who was policing the land? Certainly weren't y'all. You know, we have rules and regulations in this town. Well, let me tell you about one of them, and that's where I live. Folks, you can have a lot of rules and regulations, but until you sue somebody, you almost can't get nothing done. I got a neighbor right next to me, and about every one of y'all probably know who I'm talking about. Built a nice big old house, got a nice little barn out there, and nobody's ever lived in the property. He used to have semi-trucks on part of my property and his all the time. We begged the city, and do you not have city ordinances against that in this town? Could never get him moved until the association finally sued. And then it took us a long time. So I'm not too high on the rules and how they do things. Now, I've taught my kids to be pretty decent little kids. My son's a pastor out in West Texas. Bridget can hold her own, as you can tell. But I'm going to tell you what, we have stood up for what's right. We tried to over there where I lived, and it was horrible. But I'm going to tell you, you can do what you want, but they were being honest with everybody when they walked in there and told them what they were going to try and do. They didn't have to. I told them they needed to, too. Just be honest with people. But whether you have a rule over there or not, half the time the city doesn't enforce it in the first place. Go around and look at all the mattresses on the side of the road. Go around and look at all the lots that are way over 12 inches in this city. You can fine everybody all you want, but since they've been out there, and I've been out there several times too, working. Since they've been out there, that place has changed tremendously, and several of the people out there have noticed that. This ain't a bunch of talk. This is facts. Now they can what if you to death. Facts are they're going to do what's right. You can do what you want to. I appreciate your time. You have any comments for me?
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. That will conclude everybody that had signed up to speak on agenda item number 2.
Would you
do I
close
have any?
Close the public hearing.
I need to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. So do I have a motion from anybody? Yeah, I guess we do need to open it up for discussion among council, among the committee.
Going first, or I'm going to go first?
Pardon me?
I thought I'm getting ready to say something. I'll go first if you want me to.
Go ahead.
May I be recognized, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Like I said before, I've been dealing with Eagle Crest since 11/3/2020. And like I said, it's a nice neighborhood, nice homes. When it was a golf course, it was kept up to the maximum. And everybody lives out there, they keep their yard up. You know, they want the best. And when we drive out there, when you hit 40, coming off Border Street, you hit 40th Street, and you're right there to the right, the ditch is grown full of grass all the way from Border to Hancock. This is not the city's responsibility to keep.
Mr. Van, the discussion would be among the committee.
Okay, I'll look at you, Mr. Johnson.
No, I mean, it would be.
Well, I mean, I was looking to audience. I was explaining to them. They're out there sitting too. They're citizens. I mean, I have a problem where I look.
No, it's
Okay.
discussion among the committee.
Okay,
It's not,
I'll
it's,
look.
it's
I'll
just
look
not
this way.
making a statement.
Okay, I'll look this way. But anyway, right there from Border to all the way to Hancock, on both sides of the street, growed up. That's not the city's responsibility to keep that cut. That's the homeowner. These ditches in our city, like this gentleman was talking about, that's the homeowner's job to keep these ditches cut. But we have to cut them because people are too lazy to cut them. Another problem I have out there is that the drainage system at Eagle Crest, we went out there this summer, we put new concrete down because the constituents wanted it. We put new drains down. And just 2 weeks ago, I was out there, and the landowner that owned the property, all that Johnson grass just growed up. Right there at the drainage ditches, tree limbs blocking it, still blocking it. I'm just curious, the first entrance where you go, first of all, has any of the councilmen been out there to look at this problem in Eagle Crest? Have y'all been to Eagle Crest lately? I'd like to see a show of hands.
No, Mr.
Yeah.
Van.
I'm explaining something. I'm
No,
trying
Mr.
to make
Van,
a point,
we need
Mr.
to
Johnson.
stay on the point of
Okay,
the
I'll
item.
stay on the point.
Again, you are veering off the point of the item.
I'll stay on the point then. Well,
because
anyway.
we need to be on the point of the discussion of the item.
Okay. The discussion of the item is Eagle
Because
Crest
what
is
we
not.
need to do is not call out other council members.
Okay.
We don't need to call out errors that are not on topic. We need to stay on the topic of what the discussion is.
Okay. Discussion is zoning the property agricultural. To me, I think it's wrong to zone it to agricultural because we keep hearing about cows. What about pigs and chickens and goats? That's part of agriculture. You can put anything on agriculture, Councilman Johnson. I'm sorry if I called your name, but I'm looking at you. So, but you can put anything that has to do with animals on agricultural land, you know, and I'm pretty sure they are. But like I say, like the point was brought out this morning, when did they get out? They're gonna be eating. They're nice, pretty.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's no. Right. I'm sorry. The public hearing at this point is closed. The discussion is to be among the committee at this point. I call for order.
If I'm not correct, agriculture is chickens, hogs, goats, cows. You are allowed to have all that on agricultural land. That's my statement. But like I said, one of the cows get out and go over there and eat those nice people's sod in their yard, which they plant sod. They don't have just regular grass. They got sod, you know. And also, the drainage system, to me, is ridiculous out there. It's the worst. Okay, you go out there, coming from Eagle Crest, going back east and turn right. When we get a hard rain, they got a drainage system up there. You cannot even get through there going to Hancock. Because going to the east, I don't know if we have an easement on that or not, so we can go over there and do something. Or when they become agriculture, I don't know if we can go on those people's property. I guarantee you, going across both those ditches, the water is going into the land. It's not going into a pond or anything. And if you go out there now, and I'm telling everybody up here to go out there and look and see what the city has already done to clear some of that debris away from the drain. Even if we do that, that's still not going to solve the problem. We need to get out here and look at this stuff. I'm a councilman in Ward 3. I'm this constituents counselor. And trust me, when somebody called me to go out and look at things, I go out and look at things. Councilman Reed does too. That's our ward. We're talking about Ward 3 here. Am I correct, Councilman Reed?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about Ward 3. So that affects us. We represent these people. The problem is, when we did start this project and had all the problems with the baling of the hay, in the first place, the city of Muskogee should have not let this grass get that high. Well, I can understand the rain, but this happened this year. What started in 2016?
So, Mr. Van,
hold on, Councilman Johnson. Let me get my point right quick. What happened in 2016 was we had two meetings up here at City Hall you probably didn't know nothing about, with Eagle Crest over this situation.
I'm going to have to interrupt you now, Mr. Van. We're getting off topic. What you're talking about are zoning and other, not zoning, but code enforcement issues that happened prior to this issue that's being brought before us today. So the comments, in order to stay on the agenda item, have to relate around the decision whether or not to allow the rezoning of this property.
Well, Roy, I just don't think the rezoning of this property is going, if the Beardens are like the other previous owners that had to pay us $10,000 some dollars for not doing right and keeping the grass cut, I don't think that's right. And that's what the price was, $10,000 some dollars Mr. Coppers was out of.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that the comments must be germane to what
Okay.
the agenda item is for
Okay.
open record, for open meeting purposes.
Okay. But I just don't think, we should make it agriculture. And the games that we play up here with ourselves and all the little get-together and things that goes on up here, that's wrong. We all should be on one accord. Not three councilmen here talking about this, not three councilmen over here talking about this. We're all up here ought to be on one accord.
I think that statement right there was inappropriate.
I know, Mr. Johnson, you'll write me up in a minute. I know you will. You've done it before, but I don't care. Because you know what? I can walk off this council today. But at least when I do walk off of it, I know I've done
Mr.
right.
Van, please stay on the agenda item.
Okay. I'm
Mr.
done.
Chairman, if I may, please. I would like to say, first of all, we respect the Beardens and their heart and their passion for what they want to do with the property. But at this point, unfortunately, I would like to make a motion that the request be denied to rezone the property in the Eagle Crest area. That's my motion.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second on the floor. Any other comments from the committee? Mr.
I
Chairman?
got one.
Yes.
Mr. Garvin or Tish, I don't know which one of y'all to ask this. If we vote this down tonight, do we need to make a motion tonight, or would it need to be made to zone it another way than what it is right now? Because in our use maps zone for what it is, would we have to change the way we use our use map?
If you recommend denial, yes, I would recommend that you make a request for planning department or planning commission to look at the land use map and amend as needed.
And that would move it possibly to what then?
The planning department would make a recommendation to planning commission, then planning commission would make a recommendation which would ultimately come to y'all on what use that should be, whether it should be stay single family, or excuse me, move to single family, or whether it should stay agricultural, whatever zoning or whatever classification is appropriate for that area. One reason why it was originally zoned, or let me rephrase that, the land use map showed it, is because the floodplain and the infrastructure. So you need to look and see, though, what is the appropriate future use for that land. But ultimately, it'll come to you to make that decision, but planning department will make a recommendation and forward it to planning commission.
So are we aware of a floodplain where it sits in on that land property now?
Yes, if you look at the map that's up on your screen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tish, I think she's got it highlighted in kind of the green underneath the orange.
Okay.
All that is floodplain.
So it's going right through the middle of the property, cutting off probably roughly, what, 5 to 7 acres?
I think there's,
The calculation that I was able to do is roughly 35 acres. It takes
Okay.
in the floodplain, and then the pond area cannot be developed on. And that's just at the boundary of the FEMA floodplain identification. If it were me, I would not want to build that close, even if we were just right on the boundary. So there is some areas there that cannot be developed due to the floodplain, or should not be developed.
Okay. One more question. Hang on, let me consult with the attorney first.
What was the first question?
Okay, I can ask. The farm, that was brought up as a property to be about the same. What is the zoning of the farm? Do we know?
It's a PUD, planned unit development.
Okay, so it's not rated as the same as what we're dealing with right now then?
no, because they wanted to have the large accessory buildings, That's one reason why they went with the PUD. It had nothing to do with any livestock, it was accessory buildings.
Okay. I was wondering that because it had the big barns and that barns and garages behind it, and I was just curious about all the zoning of that. All right. All right. Thank you. I'm done. I appreciate y'all.
Any other questions? I know, Mr. Coleman,
Yes,
you
sir.
had one?
I have one for Mr. Tucker. I just want to be clear that regardless of the outcome of the vote on tonight, at some point the Beardens may reappear before the Planning Commission with an alternate proposal if they so choose.
Based upon the motion that was made today, if it is approved, it will move forward to the City Council for ultimate decision. But that does not mean that at some other point or even immediately thereafter, a new application could be made if that's what your
That's what I was
question
asking.
is. Yes.
I think there is a six-month waiting period. If it's denied by council, there's a 6-month waiting period before they can request the rezoning again.
For any even a modification of the existing.
For any of that property that was denied. And we need to check that, but I believe it's 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if we're talking only a portion, are we sure that that would be the?
I think so, because I think it's the same property, but we'll verify that and see before Monday night's meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other clarifications or questions?
Yes, can I ask Tish a question?
Yes.
Do we have easement to the drainage across the street going on to the other property? Do you know?
That I don't know.
Could you
I'm sure there would be right-of-way, which is the easement. You're talking about 40th Street?
Right.
Okay, yeah. there-
Where that water goes?
Yeah.
Can we find out where it goes?
Okay.
Are you talking about the drainage portion?
Drainage portion.
Is that,
Mr. Van, are we talking about the portion in the orange or elsewhere, further north?
Talking about the first one coming from Border to
Yeah.
where you turn in Eagle Crest?
I'll get with
over
you.
the
after-
bridge?
I'll get with you afterwards.
on
We can
up?
work on that.
Okay.
Any other questions from committee? I have a motion and a second on the floor to deny the request. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
No.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Resolution Number 2776, amending the land use map regarding property located on North 24th Street, more particularly described in the resolution from single-family residential district to multifamily residential district, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the land use map of the city to reflect said change.
Hold on one second. I think there's, just from the chambers, there's been some questions. Item number 2, there was a motion and a second on the floor to deny the request. So a vote of yes was to deny the request. So it passed as a denial. So I just wanted to make that clarification because there was some confusion in the audience of what did occur. So I just wanted to make sure that clarification was made before we went on. So we've moved on from item number 2 and we've moved on to item number 3. I just felt like that was appropriate. Sorry for that interference.
I appreciate it. I could understand. I could hear that there was
Yeah.
confusion, so I appreciate that.
Sorry for that interference. Tish,
Okay.
item number 3.
Thank you. This is a resolution.
We also need to open
Pardon?
the public hearing.
Oh.
Thank you, Roy. A lot of clarifications this evening. We will open a public hearing on item number 3 also.
Thank you. This is a request, a resolution to amend the land use map. It is to allow for an R4 multifamily rezoning application. This is the site. Currently, it's at Military and 24th Street. Currently, the north portion there is already zoned the R4 multifamily residential district. Right there. This is the site that is being requested to have the land use amendment. It would change it from the R4 in the north part and just add the south part to be multifamily residential. Again, this is a resolution to amend the land use map, lots 25 and 26 of Homeacres. It's adjacent to a regional corridor commercial area. That's what was identified on our land use map. This is a compatible transition zone from the commercial to the residential, and staff does recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee on this item?
So, Ms. Callahan, this is only to make the area more uniform in terms of it being residential.
Right, because that north part, well, it's a multifamily residential. The north is already zoned that. They could put multifamily apartments, whatever's allowed in the multifamily zoning classification in that north part. They have purchased the property to the south, so that whole property is what they're looking at developing for multifamily. And in order to do that, it needed to be rezoned.
Right.
And in order to be rezoned, it needed to match the land use map.
We had nobody signed up to address this item, so we will go ahead and close the public hearing on this item. Any other questions from the committee?
How many houses could possibly fit on here? Do we know how much they're going to break it up into?
It's in the next request, but they're looking at doing a senior multifamily addition.
Okay.
I think 8, I forgot the number of units, sorry. 15. I don't know what I'd do without Dan, I'll tell you. Both Dans. But yeah, they were talking about 15 units. They would be together, so it's almost like apartments types.
Okay, thank you.
But other than that, it could be a large apartment complex if it wasn't developed this way. So.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve item number 3. Any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4077A, rezoning the property located on the southwest corner of North 24th Street and Military Boulevard, more particularly described in the ordinance from R1 Single Family Residential to R4 Multifamily Residential, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We will now open a public hearing on this item also, on item number 4. Ms. Callahan.
Thank you, Chair. Commission members, this is a request from the Greater Muskogee Community Foundation. They are now the owner and they are the applicant. They are requesting to rezone the south half of lots 25 and 26 from the R1 Single Family Residential to the R4 Multifamily Residential District. And this is to allow for the development of a multifamily senior living facility. The current zoning is the R1, and they are requesting to zone to the R4 Multifamily Residential District.
Oh, since
Expands it a little farther. You can see where the location is at 24th there in Military. The current zoning and the land use around it to the north is zoned R1 Single Family Residential. It's, I was corrected, I think it's the lodge. I thought it was a church parking lot. And that is the area where it begins to have the commercial regional, the regional corridor for commercial. To the northeast is R1 Single Family Residential. It's a vacant lot, and it's this was taken on Military facing northeast. And in the future, that would be recommended to be commercial also. To the east is R1 Single Family Residential. It is vacant and quite grown-up land. This was taken on Military facing the southeast. To the west is R1 Single Family Residential. There is a single family home. I believe there's 2 before it gets to the hotels. And this is looking at the site from the boundary, the south boundary, which is the parking lot of Old Agency Baptist Church. It does have the mix of the R4 multifamily residential and the R1 single family residential. It's currently vacant land, so this is taken from the church parking lot facing to the north. And again, the Greater Muskogee Community Foundation is requesting this zoning from the R4. It does comply, the R4 does comply with the future land use map because of the resolution passing, and staff and Planning Commission recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
We have had nobody sign up to address this item, so we will now close the public hearing on item number 4. Any questions on this item?
Move for approval since I've already asked my questions.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5 and item number 6 on clarifications during going over the agenda. These items will be stricken and pulled from the agenda. Item number 7.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a master agreement with Cowan Group Engineers for the Water Distribution System Improvement Project, as well as approval of Task Order 1 for water meter replacement in an amount not to exceed $20,400, and Task Order 2 for water line replacement in an amount not to exceed $238,900, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This is a continuation of our OWRB water loan projects. There's a later item when we're going to discuss the 30-inch water line, which is the big water line across town, where we have the ODEQ permits approved for that. But this is the continuation, which will one item in the technical memorandum was replacement of meters throughout the city, and we're needing Cowan's assistance in working with the DEQ as far as getting all that approved through OWRB. And then the second one will be one of our first major line replacements of various lines throughout the city. These are lines that have had repeated repairs, so we prioritize based on how many repairs and how often we've had to make repairs on lines. So these are the worst lines in the city. It amounts to about 7 miles of 6 to 12-inch water lines, and this will be a design contract to make those repairs. And this will be done as we're setting up a master agreement and then task orders. This will be the first 2 task orders on that agreement, and we recommend approval.
Thank you. Questions from the committee for staff? Do I have a motion?
Move the approval. Second.
And a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 7 passes. Item number 8.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract between the City of Muskogee and Holloway, Updike, and Bellin Consulting Engineers in an amount not to exceed $46,000 for replacement of the wastewater treatment plant administration building ventilation supply, exhaust, chiller, and boiler systems, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This is a during the flood, our chiller for our main building at the wastewater treatment plant went underwater, about halfway under, it went underwater enough to completely destroy it. And this is just not an item that you go buy another one and stick it in place. This needs engineering design, electrical, and everything. So Holloway, Updike, and Bellin's been working with us out there to help get the plant up and running. Right now, we have temporary cooling. We put in window units, a temporary unit, and doing everything we can to keep it from being 100 degrees in the building. But so this will be a contractor to design that replacement of the chiller, and we recommend approval.
They don't tend to run very good underwater, do they? Kind of rough on them. Do I have a motion?
Move the approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other comments or clarifications needed from the committee? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 8 passes. Item number 9.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract between the City of Muskogee and Holloway, Updike, and Bellin Consulting Engineers in an amount not to exceed $49,000 for design, bidding, and construction phase services for repairs and replacement equipment for 2 secondary clarifiers and 1 gravity thickener located at the wastewater treatment plant, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley again.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. Again, with the flood, we have two secondary clarifiers. Initially, they were both out of service after the flood. We were able to make one out of the two, robbing parts from one until we could get one working. We do need both of them working. So this will be a design project to get them both back in service and both working properly. We're going to actually repair and replace all the parts and pieces so that we have restored, not just semi-restored. We're going to have it in perfect working order as we're done in both clarifiers. So we're doing that design, and then the gravity thickener has been down for a while, but it's needed to be repaired. It's more of a replace parts item, but we need that to help with our hauling to the landfill, which will save us a significant amount of money, and we recommend approval.
Mr. Riley, do we know how much of this will be reimbursable by FEMA?
We believe that the secondary clarifiers, because they were damaged in the flood, just one significantly concrete damage is going to have to be replaced in the floor, and of course the chiller that was underwater. So we feel like we're actually documenting everything that was due to the flood, so that we will be able to submit it to FEMA for reimbursement.
So you feel pretty comfortable with them, even in the design work. We think we will get partial reimbursement on those.
Oh yes, I would think so.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Any other clarifications from the committee? Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 9 passes. Item number 10.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate a contract with Olson for engineering services for 1, the Hilldale School Access Improvement Project, a joint project amongst the city of Muskogee and the Muskogee Creek Nation, as well as 2, the Smith Ferry Road Drainage Project, a project of the city of Muskogee, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman of the committee. As you know, we've talked earlier or signed an agreement with the Creek Nation as far as they're going to pay for the construction and we're going to do the design on this project. We're going to pay for the drainage, off-site drainage that's necessary for the project. This is going from Main Street to Gulick and replacing the roadway there and the drainage as necessary. We convened a committee and included someone from Hilldale, someone from the Creek Nation, and 3 people from the city. We did interviews of 6 firms, and Olson was unanimously picked by the committee as the most qualified firm. So this will be to negotiate the contract. The amount's not known yet, but this is just putting forward that this is our selection, and we recommend approval.
Well, it's a tremendous effort to see this cooperation take place.
Yes. I know this is kind of my area and within the Hilldale School District, so it's much needed over there. During the selection process, was there I know we always kind of preach to shop local and go locally. Is there something that we can share why we didn't go with someone local rather than going out of town or out?
Well, there was one local firm that interviewed, and based on the interviews and the information provided, we felt like Olson was the most qualified firm for this project.
Thank you.
Any other clarifications? This is a great project, though. See this cooperation taking place and moving forward. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
No.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
No.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 10 passes. Item number 11.
Consider approval to accept ODEQ permit number WL000051190496 for the construction of 16,413 linear feet of 30-inch PVC water line 26 linear feet of 24-inch PVC water line, and all appurtenances to serve the city of Muskogee, Muskogee County, Oklahoma, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, committee, this is will be the second project we put out with OWRB. The tank mixing and cleaning of the water tanks was first. This is a major project. It's 3 miles of a 30-inch water line, this is part that came out of the model, which this will reduce the water age on the west side of town from what is now 12 to 14 days will go down to about 3 days. It's making a direct route to supply the water towers on the west side of town and making a significant improvement to that. The project is ready to bid. This permit is one step in the process that needs to be approved, and we recommend approval.
Okay. I have a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any clarifications needed? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 11 passes. Item number 12.
Consider the appointment of Marlon Coleman to the City Facilities Board to serve a term commensurate with his office on City Council or take other necessary action.
This is my appointment on the City Facilities Board. This is one of those positions that needs to be filled by a city councilor. And I really do, I asked a couple, and I really do appreciate Mr. Coleman taking this position. This is one of those boards that was one of my visions to put in place where we could have somebody looking over all our facilities that we've got the investment in, and I really do appreciate Mr. Coleman making this commitment to our community and serving on this board. So that is my recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or clarifications from the committee? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 12 passes. Item number 13.
Consider the appointment of Marlon Coleman to the Muskogee City County Port Authority to serve a 4-year term beginning October 1, 2019 and expiring September 30, 2023.
Councilor Reed.
Yes, Mr. Marlon Coleman stepped up and volunteered to serve on the Port Authority, and seeing his work, so I know and trust that he'll do a great job. So my recommendation for my port appointment is Marlon Coleman.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any clarifications from the committee?
Yes, can I be recognized, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm glad that my point up here has finally got through y'all's head, because this appointment was mine a couple years ago. We lost Toby Ledbetter. She was the only person of color that's been on this port board since 1996. The first person of color was Miss Stella Derrick. She was on there for about a couple of years. So I'm glad, Councilman Coleman and Councilman Reed, that you nominated Councilman Coleman to be the person of color for the port. And I just hope that the county commissioners, which I'm going to their meeting, they're going to have some appointees, and I just hope they get some people of color on this port board besides just one to represent. So that's all I have to say, and that's the truth. And I'm sorry if I may have offended anybody, but like I say, we lack people of color on a lot of these boards. So I'm glad you got it, Councilman Coleman. I turn the floor back over to you.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 13 passes. Item number 14.
Consider the appointment of Derek Reed to the Muskogee Medical Center Authority to serve a 7-year term beginning August 13, 2019 and ending July 31, 2026, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Coleman.
Mr. Chairman and committee, I am pleased to forward the name of Derek Reed, who was one of our counselors, to serve on the Muskogee Medical Center Authority. He has been faithful to this community and is eager to get back into the swing of things where he can play a more intricate role in serving our community, and that would be my recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any clarifications? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 14 passes. Item number 15.
Consider the reappointment of Nancy Godden to the Muskogee City County Port Authority to serve a 4-year term beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Coleman.
Mr. Chairman and committee, Nancy Gaden has been serving on the Muskogee City County Port Authority for some time now. It was requested that she be reappointed, and that is my recommendation.
Second. Nancy does a great job.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or clarifications from the committee? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
That will conclude our agenda for the Public Works. We have no one else signed up to speak to the committee, so that will conclude our meeting for this evening.
Want to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for August the 5th, 2019. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of July 15, 2019.
Reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our minutes. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments July 6, 2019 through July 26, 2019.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Purchasing Committee did meet this evening, and we did review the claims, and I do make a recommendation that we approve them this evening.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our claims list. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of change order number 1 to the contract with Scissortail Construction, LLC, in the amount of $1,195.70 for additional wiring needed for the Verdon system on the bell tower at Green Hill Cemetery, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is the first change order on the bell tower project at Green Hill Cemetery. It will include cutting a trench from the corner of the bell tower to the cemetery office, running the wire and cable to protect the wire. What it will do is will allow the cemetery office to control the sound at the bell tower. This item has been recommended for approval by staff and purchasing committee. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Move the approval.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 3 passed. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of state contract pricing from Quanti Sales in the amount of $27,550.30 for the purchase of 2 grasshopper mowers for use at Green Hill Cemetery, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
This is for the purchase of 2 grasshopper mowers for the use at the Green Hill Cemetery. This is being purchased through the state contract. It is being purchased with funds from the capital outlay. The mowers being replaced are 2006 and 2008 mowers. This item has been recommended for approval by both staff and purchasing committee. Again, be glad to answer any questions.
Move the approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Garvin, will these be repurposed or they're just no longer serviceable?
They're in pretty bad shape.
Pretty bad
I think
shape.
they'll be surplused and disposed of.
Okay. Thank
10
you.
and 12 years for a mower's
It's a long time.
pretty good life.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because we run them in the summer all day, every day. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Kudos to that, keeping them that long.
Thank you, Mr. Garvin.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval to purchase a Tesla Model 3 sedan to be used as a courtesy vehicle at Muskogee Davis Regional Airport in an amount not to exceed $45,000 as recommended by the Airport Board, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin?
Yes, I'd like to ask our airport manager to come up and go over the recommendation made by the airport board.
Good evening, Chairman and committee. This is not your normal courtesy vehicle purchase. It's a little bit out there. So I want to absolutely go over the reasoning why this was chosen. I believe it's a good choice. I have included some information about the vehicle with the agenda item that you guys can see. This will be if purchased, this will be a 2019 Tesla Model 3 Standard Plus, which means it's a standard range, standard battery pack. With a 240-mile range, but it'll have the nice leather interior, all the nice amenities, etc. The purchase price for this vehicle, brand new, $42,490. We could actually get it a little bit cheaper if we were able to use some tax credits, but we are not since we're a municipality. This vehicle does include an 8-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty and a 4-year, 50,000-mile regular warranty on everything else, which is in line with the best warranties of the gasoline manufacturers out there. So the airport, it currently owns 2 Tesla electric vehicle charging stations. These were provided at no cost by Tesla in 2018, and they get used frequently. So we will be able to utilize those for this vehicle if it's purchased. The City of Muskogee, along with the FAA and the OAC, we have invested millions of dollars in the past 5 years out here at this airport. We have a beautiful airport. We have a modern, brand new terminal building. Those are things that people see when they fly in. They're some of the best in Oklahoma. Right now, we are putting these individuals in a car that's valued at about $500, a 99 or 2001 Ford Crown Victoria former police car. They are worn out. They are problematic. Now, they'll get you from point A to point B, but if we hand the keys to a Tesla over instead of hand the keys of a Ford Crown Victoria over to this individual who just flew in on a corporate jet, they're here to spend money in Muskogee. They're not here to see the batfish. They're not here to go to the Three Rivers Museum. The vast majority of the traffic that we get are business owners and business employees who fly in, they stay a couple of hours, they do their business, and they leave. If these people want to invest in Muskogee, we need to make the best impression that we possibly can. And we're not asking, the airport board is not asking for a $100,000 Tesla. This is a $42,000 Tesla. It'll be a good green initiative for the FAA, or for us to include with our grant packets to the FAA. It'll look good on the city's part. Airport users, they will not have to replenish fuel in this car. Normally, they fill the cars up with gas before they bring them back. They obviously won't have to do that. And when they forget to do that, the airport will not have to do that on our end. The Tesla Model 3, it's kind of interesting. It actually has no annual maintenance requirements. The maintenance on this vehicle is as needed. So if you need tires, you put tires on it. If you need windshield wiper blades, you put windshield wiper blades on it. There's no 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 mile service, etc. It's all as needed because it has so many fewer moving parts. It's one of the safest vehicles in the United States. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration show that it has the lowest probability of injury of all cars the government agency has ever tested. So it's a very safe vehicle for those who are flying into our city. And last but not least, we will be the first airport in the state of Oklahoma to have an electric courtesy vehicle. We will have the nicest courtesy vehicle in the state of Oklahoma. Now, Sundance in Oklahoma City, they did buy 3 new Range Rovers last year, and they are nice. But the Tesla, it'll make an impression. When people fly into Muskogee and they get into that Tesla, most of them have never driven an electric vehicle. They will remember it, and they will remember that it happened in Muskogee. Last but not least, this will be paid for using airport user fees. This will not be paid for with any tax dollars. So this will be paid for with money that the airport users have put into the system that we are then spending on items to operate the airport. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I recommend approval.
Drew, we initially got 2, I was part of the airport board when we initially got 2 cars out there, and we made the best of what we could at that time. Is there a need for 2 cars? I mean, and why I'm asking that question, we're updating our police fleet. Is there a need, while we're getting rid of police cars, at least to get an updated car out there as a second, or is there really just a need for 1 car out there?
So most of the time there is just need for 1 car. Now, I will say that once or twice a week at least, both cars do go out. If we end up buying a Tesla and the individuals who fly in want to drive it, that'll incentivize them to call ahead and make reservations, which we recommend. The Crown Victorias, the ones we have now were updated 2 years ago by ones that were being rotated out. Now, they are more reliable than the ones we had from 2013 or so, but they're still problematic. They do have problems. If there is a better vehicle, police vehicle, to replace that second one, I would be happy to work with Fleet on that.
So we still need to rotate one
Yes.
to keep a second one?
I would recommend it.
Thank you very much.
During the airport board meeting, I asked for 2 of them, and they all told me, no, let's go with 1 first. I was like, hey, if we got 1, we need 2 in case another. And I'll tell you, at first, I kind of was like, when we talked, Mr. Johnson, about what are we going to do about cars? I mean, when you were trying to get the cars there, and it's all we could get. It's all we had money for. And now that I'm on the airport board, and I was sitting in the lobby waiting for our airport board meeting, and I was sitting here talking to a guy that flew in a couple of days before, and he was getting ready to fly out on a $17 million Learjet, and it was costing him $7,000 an hour to rent that Learjet. Or it wasn't a Learjet; it was a
Bombardier Challenger 350,
and it was sweet too. I'm telling you. And I was talking to him, and I said, "So, what do you think about Muskogee?" He said, "I see that y'all are trying to move forward as a city." He goes, "And your airport's really nice. The taxiway, everything's really nice out here." He goes, "Boy, your cars are horrible." And I said, "Well, they're ex-police cars, and we're trying to do the best we can." He goes, "And don't get me wrong, I appreciate you letting me use them," but he was really, I mean, just a guy getting off of a $17 million jet that's paying $7,000 an hour for it to fly him here to Muskogee to do business. He wouldn't tell me what the business was he was doing, but he said it was his first time here, and he was pretty impressed with our city. But a newer car would have been nice, but that's what he's accustomed to. So when Drew talked to us about it, and then the airport board was all excited about trying this and getting a car that would put us memorable when people fly in, not miserable, was kind of exciting. So, and then when they were bringing it to me, me, I was like, hey, if we're going to get 1, let's get 2 in case we have 2 jets fly in and they both want them. But that was halted. They just wanted to put 1 on to see and give us a year or so to see how it works before we think about another one and see if there was any problems, if it was problematic, or if there was something wrong with it or something. But he's right. I would love to be one that got to drive the thing, but it's for a courtesy car.
I'm glad the airport board is at the place right now where they can afford that. It much is visionary. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion?
Yeah, may I be recognized, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Drew, those Teslas are nice. I went to National League of Cities,
Mhm.
and when you go to National League of Cities, you get to meet all the people that's there, the speakers and everything. And I met the CEO of Tesla.
Okay. I'd love to meet him.
He's a nice man. He's definitely a nice man. And then the car, it was on display, and they had one of the Teslas on display, but it was really nice. So congratulations to the airport for getting a Tesla.
I'm gonna be watching to see if you're in it, if I see it around town.
I don't think it's used for us, is it? No.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 5 passed. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval of state contract pricing from Premier Truck Group of Tulsa for the purchase of one 2020 Freightliner 10-wheel dump truck in the amount of $112,994 for use in the street department from fiscal year 2019-2020, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Swift.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Last year, we identified two 10-wheel dump trucks in the Public Works Department that needed to be replaced. One was a 2001, the other one was a 2002 model. If you'll recall, back a few months ago, we did purchase one with last year's funds in last fiscal year. It also had the snow removal equipment on it, so this would be the second one that we identified budgeted in this fiscal year. It will be a mirror of the first one that we got, minus the snow removal equipment, excuse me. It is a budgeted item. It came in under budget, be paid for out of the capital outlay funds, so state contract purchase, we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 6 passed. Item number 7.
Consider approval of state contract pricing from Stuart Martin Kubota in the amount of $56,722.80 for the purchase of 4 Kubota ZD 1211 diesel zero-turn mowers with air ride seat option, one with side chute cover for use in the Parks and Recreation Department, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Swift.
Yes. This year, we budgeted actually for 2 mowers in the Park and Recreation Department. This was budgeted way back early in the year, January, February. Since then, some priorities have changed. We had an extremely wet spring, so the grass has grown just ridiculously fast and dense and thick. It's been very, very wet, so we've put an extreme load on the 2 other mowers that we were hoping would make it until next year. They are not going to. We're experiencing more problems, and they're going to be more costly to repair than just to continue to keep those. Value has exceeded the cost of repairs, have exceeded the value of the mowers. So what we're ultimately asking for is to convert some funds that was initially budgeted for a tractor with a little front end loader. We'll go after that item next year, reprioritize that money, and get them 2 additional mowers so they can keep up with this grass. Usually this time of year we've had extreme heat, the grass is dead, we're not experiencing that, so we're wanting to purchase 4 total. It is a state contract item, will be paid for out of the Park and Rec's capital outlay funds. We recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did nobody from Muskogee bid on this at all? The Kubota dealership here in town?
We did not send them out for bids. It is through the Kubota dealer here in town, Stuart Martin Kubota. So it's
Okay.
state contract with the local Kubota dealer.
All right. The reason why I was wondering, because it says Muskogee on here.
That is where they generated the quote from. They own all 3, 4 locations, so
Okay.
it is coming from the Muskogee location.
Okay, just checking.
The salesman that we deal with here, Kenny, he was having some health issues, so a gentleman named Bobo, which is Joey Newton's son, he actually finished the quote up from his office in Muskogee, or Okmulgee rather, so that's why the quote said Okmulgee.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 7 passed. Item number 8, please.
Consider approval to use the city's matching grant program to transfer $12,362.24 to the War Memorial Park Trust for operational programs or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. And I'd like to also acknowledge Brent Trout is here. He may help me address this item. But as you guys know, when we had the floods, it affected the War Memorial Park and the home of the USS Batfish. And previously, we've voted in the council to allow us to use our reserve funds to help with the capital expenditures there to get the Batfish back up and operating as we'd like it to be. What we have a request for and what we're proposing to do now is use some fundraising that they're doing and match that with our matching grant fund to provide operating funds. Without their main attraction, they're not getting the guests and the visitors, so the summer season really is a big time for them to have generate income for people coming in and visiting the War Memorial Park and the Batfish. So while they don't have their main attraction open, we'd like to be able to use the matching grant fund to provide them operational funds so they can keep up and running and get the park back to where we need it to be. So we have funds available for the capital expenditures. This would allow us to use the matching grant fund during this time while the park is closed to provide operating funds as they go out and do fundraising efforts themselves for operations as well.
Move for approval.
I'm going to make a comment real quick. Just as the chair of the War Memorial Park Board, I just want to commend Brent and the staff for what a great work they're doing on keeping everything up and going and for all their hard work during the flood as well. And thanks.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
The second.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs? Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Item number 8 passed, and that is our final item for our Finance Committee.